Hi, it's me, Jazzy. I'm back with another tech-related video, and today I'm taking a look at a digital microscope. Now, this one is the JOYALENS JL210S, which is a 4K 10.1-inch HDMI 60 FPS digital microscope. So JOYALENS have very kindly sent me one over to take a look at. So let's dive in and see what we get in the box. It's very well sealed. Right, what's in the box? Let's have a look. Right, so we've got some instructions. Excellent, good start. And under the protective layer of cardboard we have... here it is, the microscope itself. Right, so here's the screen. This is a 10.1-inch screen, and you've got the microscope attached on the back there. You've got a whole range of buttons there. We'll dive into those in a moment. And we've got a remote control. You know I'm a sucker for a remote control. And then you've got the stand in here as well, so all very nicely packed. So we've got a metal stand, we've got a HDMI cable, we've got a cleaning cloth, we've got some more cables. We'll investigate in a moment how it all hooks up. So we've got a USB power adapter, we've got some little threaded fixings there. Got something in a little box there, looks like might be a sample maybe to have a look at through the microscope. I'll have a look at that in a moment. And another cable, you get plenty of cables for this, great. Right, this looks like part of the base. We'll see how easy this is to assemble in a moment. These are the arms that you can use to hold various parts with croc clips on the end, and this will fixes to part of the stand, so we'll put all that together. And then in the bottom of the box we've got the rest of the stand, and we've got some gooseneck LED lights. Okay, pretty cool. And we've got a little anti-static mat there to put in the bottom of the stand. So the stand itself is metal with the gooseneck lights attached, and it's got rubber feet on the bottom, so it's not going to slide across your bench. This all looks nicely machined here. It's nice to see all metal parts on this. I do like to see things that are using metal parts where possible rather than plastic, well, where it's appropriate anyway. This is the rest of the stand, and a little bag of fixings and some little Allen keys to assemble the stand. So it does look like they've supplied everything you need to put this together. So I'm intrigued. Let's get it on the bench and put it together. So let's see how it all goes together. So installation looks pretty simple. Now, I always love to get pictures in an installation guide, so this is pretty cool. Have a look. Here we go. This is the heavy bit. So we've got this piece here, which is all nicely machined aluminium by the look of it. That just screws in. And then these are going to bend around. Right, so that slides down. You've got your lights, so you can see what you're doing. Okay, so we've got this little collar piece, and then we've got the bit that holds the microscope itself, which just slots on here. Height adjustment for the microscope there. This just folds out here. Okay, that sits in there, and then the microscope itself sits in there. Oh, I can see myself now. Tighten up there. There we go. This forms part of your little tray. Oh, it's got little compartments and stuff. You've got several of those. These just slot together. So I guess you've got the option then, depending on how much bench space you've got, if you want to have these little trays around the bottom. But then I guess you could just use these around your bench. The idea is you just slot that in. Also get this little bit of anti-static mat to put under it. For the I/O, you've got a HDMI, a USB-C, and an SD card slot, pre-populated with a 64 gig SD card. On the power cable, you've got a splitter on the cable here, which does the controls for the lights. Just plug the USB-C in to power the microscope, and plug the other end, which is a USB-A, into the included power brick. Then just plug in the barrel jack for the gooseneck lights. And finally, plug in your HDMI cable, and you're good to go. There we go, the JOYALENS JL210S Plus. As you can see, you've got loads of room on the base. You've got all these little storage compartments for bits and bobs here for screws and stuff. Got your anti-static mat there for soldering. We've got some gooseneck LED lights here, which seem pretty bright, and they're pretty easy to put where you want. You've got some helping hands here to hold bits and bobs while you're working on them, or while you're looking at them under the microscope. More storage, loads of storage compartments there. You've got places to put tools as well, so you can put things like screwdrivers in there, so you know where you've got them. There you go. And look, you can even put some solder on here. You've got a little collar there that you can do up so it doesn't move about. So you can tilt and turn that, and then you just tighten up there when you're ready, and that's good to go. Must be that magic moment we take the peel off. Very satisfying. Now if we swing the microscope around, you can see the arm assembly here. So you've got an up and down movement here, which is quite nice, so you can adjust that. You've got an adjustable angle here, so you can rotate it around 360 degrees. You've got more height adjustment here. If you want to go even lower or even higher, you can do that, and then you've still got your adjustment here as well, which is pretty cool. You can have it close into the stand like this, or if you've got a bigger board, you can actually move that right out and then just do that, and then you can still adjust your height as well. Okay, so let's pop a board underneath to have a look at. So you have got these helping hands if you want to use them to hold bits, or you can take them off if you don't need them, or you can just move them to the side so they're out of the way if they're getting in the way of looking at the board. And of course you've got the adjustment on these lights here. So with the gooseneck lights, you've got this little controller here that comes with it, and you can use that to change the brightness. So you can turn the brightness down, or you can turn the brightness all the way up. It's pretty bright. There we go. So if we turn the microscope on, you've got another LED light here, and you've got a little wheel here that controls the brightness of the LED on the bottom of the microscope, and you've got that separate control that does these gooseneck lights down the bottom here. So this is a manual focus microscope with the focus wheel on the bottom there. And the focus wheel goes all the way around, so it's quite easy to get a hold of. So if you want to move the microscope down closer to the board, you can just adjust that down, the adjustment on the back of the stand, and then just readjust the focus to bring that back in. Nice. So there you go. You can see how bright these lights are on here. Does give you a really close view of the board, which is nice. You've also got a digital zoom there, which it'll tell you there. That's plus 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, all the way up to 8 times digital zoom. And of course, when you use the digital zoom, you don't need to refocus. You're already there. Now that's a really clear view. So you've got a 10.1 inch screen on here. You've also got this HDMI 2.0 output, so you can connect it up to a 4K screen, and it supports 3840 by 2160 4K Ultra HD at 60 FPS or 30 FPS. Photo resolution on this is up to 64 megapixels, 9288 by 6936, and the video output is 3840 by 2160 4K Ultra HD at 60 FPS or 30 FPS. It does come with a pre-installed 64 gig SD card, so you can record your videos to that and save your photos to that, and then you can transfer them over to your PC, which we'll take a look at in a minute. This also supports a simultaneous display on the microscope screen and on your 4K display as well. So we're going to hook one of those up in a minute and take a look at that. It does come with some extra little goodies like a light box and some slides. If you want to have a look at some biological slides, you can do that. But for me, obviously, it's going to be all about looking at PCBs. You also have a remote control, which is rather nice, and you can do the zoom in from the remote control. So you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can turn your microscope on and off, you can go into the menu, which we'll look at in a sec. You can change the brightness, you can change the sharpness, the contrast. You've got this reverse mode, which is quite interesting if you want a funky look at your PCB. You can save your screenshots there just by pressing the camera button, which is quite cool. So just reverse that out. You've also got a black and white mode. If you want to look at something in black and white, you can do that. You can take a still image as a black and white, or you can take a still image in that reversed mode. So if you go black and white and then reverse, that's quite a cool, funky effect, isn't it? Make quite a nice t-shirt design maybe. You can also reverse the image as well. So for instance, you've got your board in this way up, and you're trying to read this. Rather than having to flip the board around, you can just flip the display. So on the front, you've got your photo capture there. So that just takes photo, that just takes your image there. You've got video record. You can see that started recording, so that will record your video footage of whatever you're looking at, or if you're doing some surface mount repairs or whatever, you can see when you got in there with your hot tweezers or your soldering iron what you're doing, and then just press again to stop the recording. So you've also got your menu button here. Now a short press on this will go into photos. That will show the last capture that we did. Press it again and it will give you all the captures that you've saved. So these were some of the little microscope slides. This was just a few little images that I took while I was testing the microscope. You can see some views of some various boards there, and there's the funky reverse effect and the black and white effect. And press menu again to come out of that. But a long press on the menu button, that'll take you into the actual menu there. So you can see you've got resolution, loop recording, time-lapse record. That's quite handy. You can change the exposure. You can tell it to record audio. So if you're recording video footage, you can also record audio as well. If you turn that on, you can add a date stamp and you can change the sharpness. Now press menu again. That'll take you to the next menu where you can select your grid line setting. If you want to have grid lines on and off, you can turn those on and off there. You can see you've got various options for grid lines on there, and you can change the date and time, the language, you can change the frequency, you can format your SD card, you can revert to default settings, and that just tells you the version of the software. So press menu again comes out of that. So let's hook it up to a 4K display and hook it up to a PC, and we'll have a look at some of the footage directly from the microscope. So this is the footage directly from the microscope. You can adjust your lights down the bottom here. So if you find you're getting too much glare, you can just angle them back, and you can change the brightness with the controller as well. So you can take them right down there, or you can increase the brightness. I find it's a little bit glary on full brightness, so you can take it down, and then you can adjust the microscope light itself, which you can take that right up, washes it out quite a bit. So I find again midway on both is a pretty good compromise. I will say the image is very sharp, very clear. The 10.1-inch display looks great. You can see the quality of the detail on the footage itself. Gives a nice clear view. You can see components that have been harvested there. You can see all the detail, all the part numbers on the ICs and things. So this is the audio from the built-in microphone, which could be handy if you want to leave yourself a voice note on the footage that you're recording. Perhaps you might want to say, I need to look at this capacitor, not too sure about it. Oh, this resistor needs checking, something like that. The gooseneck lights are very good. They do get rather hot. It does say on there caution hot, but yeah, you do find they do run a little bit hot. One thing I'm not convinced with here is the helping hands. I mean, they're okay. They're okay for what they are if you just want to hold something. But the good news is that's really easy. You don't have to put that on when you build the stand. You just leave that part off. So if you think the helping hands are not going to be useful for you, you can just leave them off. That is a good thing with this. It's quite customizable. So if you don't want the tool rack on, you can leave that off and have the helping hands, or vice versa. So you can customize it to what you want, really. I do quite like the tray with all the little storage compartments. That's quite handy. As you've seen, I always tend to have loads of bits and bobs hanging around. So yeah, that's quite cool. It's quite a nice, makes it almost like a little workstation. I would say for me, yeah, the lights are great. Tool rack's good. I would just lose these out the way just to give yourselves a bit more room. Let's hook it up to a 4K display, and let's hook it up to a PC, see what it looks like on the big screen. So when we hook up to PC, we've got a couple of options here. You've got mass storage mode, so that's if you want to transfer your files from the SD card that's built in. you can transfer them directly from the microscope to your PC, or you've got PC camera mode, which means you can view the live image on your PC. So if I select mass storage mode, press OK. So this opens as a USB drive on your PC. On mine here it's opened as drive G. So you've got a folder here called Novatech, and you've got movie and photos. So if we click on photos, you can see all the images that I've captured from the microscope. Here's some of the ones we looked at earlier. So if I double click on that, you can see that's a really high res image, and you're able to actually zoom in quite a way on your PC. So if we take a look at the image properties for that one, let's have a quick look here. So you can see indeed it is 9280 by 6936 pixels. Pretty impressive. And if we go back, we can look, we have a movies folder as well. So you can see that you've got your movie files there. And again, if we have a look in properties, you can see here that we have got our 3840 by 2160 resolution. And that is at 60 frames per second. Nice. So the other option we've got on here when you're hooked up to your PC is PC camera. So if we go to PC camera, press OK. So with the PC mode, it moves the image from the microscope to your PC. So rather than seeing the image on here, you're seeing it on your computer screen. So as you move it around, you get the live image from the microscope. Now in this mode, you just get the image displayed on your PC, but as we'll see in a moment, if you hook up a HDMI screen to your microscope, you'll be able to see the image on the microscope and the HDMI screen. So let's grab one out. So I've hooked up a 42-inch TV here, which is absolutely the biggest one I can get in here at the moment. But you can see the full resolution of the image on here. It looks fantastic. It'll go up to 4K Ultra HD, 60 frames per second. You can imagine having a big screen on the wall of your workshop and being able to see the images from the microscope in all their glory. My camera really doesn't do it justice. It does look rather fantastic. And of course, you've got your digital zoom. So if you're zooming in on something really small, let's take a look at this surface mount stuff here. Got a whole bunch of resistors here and capacitors. You can see them all in their full glory. And of course, if you're thinking, wow, these are upside down, well, you just do that rotate and then suddenly they're the right way around. That's quite handy. I quite like that feature. Of course, you still got your color effects. You can do your black and white if you want to have it in black and white, or you can reverse the image. Or you can reverse the image in black and white. And you've got a simultaneous display on the microscope and on the big screen. And of course, while you're looking at your images, you can capture the images and then you can go back in and have a look at the images. And you can not only see them on your microscope, you can see them on your big screen as well. That's quite cool. I do like that. So just to show you as an example how useful it is having the images on the bigger screen, take a look at this. This is a board out of a faulty Amazon Kindle, one of a few I've got kicking around here. And you can see how tiny these surface mount components are. This is going down to a really small level. But pop them under here and suddenly you can see them in all their glory. And if I zoom in, you've got a really clear view of those components. Look at that. When you think how clear that image is on there, and look at how tiny these are on the board. So any TV with a HDMI port, you can hook up to this, whether it's a 1080p or whether it's a 4K, and I think that looks fantastic. Never have problems again with the color codes on your resistors because you can really easily see all the detail. And there doesn't seem to be any latency issues. Moving the board around is instant. Like as it moves on the microscope, it moves on the screen as well. That's really cool. So what's my impressions then of the JOYALENS JL210S? Well, I've been using it for a little while now alongside my daily driver digital microscope that I use every day. So let's start with the stand itself. Now, the stand is great because it's fully customizable. For myself, I find the stand is a little bit busy. There's a lot going on with it. You've got that toolbar there, you've got the helping hands, you've got the gooseneck lights on there. Personally, for me, I'd probably do away with those helping hands arms. I find they're okay if you're going to be holding small bits and bobs, but you can see with this one, it doesn't necessarily stay where you leave it. Could be a little bit frustrating, but then there are other ways, as we've seen, of holding wires and little bits and bobs while you're working on them. For me, I'd probably say I wouldn't be using those. The toolbar, although it's nice, does take up a lot of room. If you've got a lot of room on your bench, it's great. Even to the extent of the little trays at the bottom here, you could take those off if you don't want to use it like that. So if you're just working on little PCBs and stuff, you could use it with just this stand and it'll take up a lot less room on your bench if you take the helping hands and the toolbar off. Obviously the little trays, you could just use them around your bench where you need them. They're quite handy little storage areas. But what I will say is, the one thing having this tray around here, if you're working on something big like a motherboard, it gives you an extension of your flat surface. So you can keep that nice and stable. And the fact that you can adjust the stand so the microscope comes further out from the stand, that's great too, because it means you can get your microscope further out. Not quite as much as if you had the arm system, but still pretty good. The gooseneck lights are great, but as you can see, sometimes you have to dial them down a little bit to avoid some glare, but that's no problem. The screen itself is excellent. I will say 10.1-inch screen. The images that you see on the screen are absolutely fantastic. And as we've saw, hooking it up to an external HDMI TV or monitor gives you that really huge picture, which is great when you're looking at tiny, tiny components, or if you want to have a big TV on the wall in your workshop, or you've got somebody in there with you, you want to show them what you're looking at on the microscope. You could even take that HDMI out to a capture card as well, if, like me, you're all about making videos. One thing I would note with the PC mode, when you're on PC mode, you don't get a display on the microscope, you get it on the PC. But with the PC mode and the HDMI mode, there is no lag, there's no latency problems. If you're moving the board around, what you do is what you see on the screen. Now they do supply you with two USB cables. So one is hooked up to the little controller that controls your gooseneck lights down the bottom there, and that is generally what powers the microscope. When you're running in PC mode, you have a separate USB cable that you plug into the back of the microscope. You take the USB-C out, plug the PC one in, and then your microscope's powered by the PC. No internal battery in this one, so it needs to be plugged into something all the time you're using it, which generally, as it's a bench microscope, is not a problem because you're always going to be near some power. Other notable features on this, the time-lapse mode, that's kind of cool, and the ability to record audio when you're recording video from your microscope. So I'd say overall, the JL210S from JOYALENS, a great microscope for the price, some great features, really customizable stand, and really easy to use as well. I think this is a great bit of kit. So there you go, the JOYALENS JL210S Plus digital microscope. As we've seen, it's got a lot of features and a fully customizable stand. Now the stand may not be for everyone. I found the helping hands a little bit fiddly and the stand was quite busy, but then if you don't want the helping hands on there, you can take them off, or the toolbar, if it's in the way, you can take it off. That's the great thing. The only limitation, as with any stand microscope, is the depth of working area. So we've looked at the pros and cons of the microscope. It comes with everything you need to set it up. You've got all the bits for the stand there, you've got all the cables that you need to set it up, and you've got some little extras like the light box and the pre-prepared microscope slides, which are not for everybody, but a little bit of fun if you've never looked at pre-prepared microscope slides before. And as I say, the microscope's useful for all kinds of hobbies, not just electronics, but it is great, as we've seen, for looking at PCBs and doing close-up work, especially if you've got a 4K TV or monitor that you can hook up to the HDMI and see the images in all their glory. So it's great taking a look at this microscope. It's horses for courses. It depends on your bench setup and what type of microscope would suit you best. But I would say this represents good value for money, and importantly, is really easy to use. If you fancy picking yourself up one of these, and why not, I'll leave the Amazon link in the video description down below so you can take a look at the JOYALENS JL210S Plus there. So big thanks to JOYALENS for sending me over this microscope to take a look at. I've enjoyed taking a look at it, and I hope you have too. I'll be back soon with some more tech related videos, but in the meantime, take care, and I'll see you on the next one.